Today, we're plunging into something truly heartbreaking and pretty significant, the 2025 Santa Catarina hot air balloon crash in Brazil.
Yeah.
Our mission, like always, is to take all the source material you've given us, pull out those key details, understand the context, and really explore the wider implications. We want to give you a concise but really comprehensive picture of this tragedy.
And it absolutely needs that attention. I mean, what immediately struck me, just showing how serious this was,
Yeah?
it wasn't just Brazil's deadliest ballooning accident. It was the deadliest worldwide since 2016.
Wow, okay. Since 2016.
Yeah, back then, 16 people died near Lockhart, Texas. So understanding all the layers here
Right.
is incredibly important.
Definitely. Okay, let's lay out the core facts first. That really sets the scene.
Good idea.
So June 21st, 2025. Place is Praia Grande, Santa Catarina, Brazil.
Got it.
We're talking about a hot air balloon, a Gulfier Balloons G32 13,000, operated by Sobrevoar Serviços Turísticos. Registration BRMEA3.
Okay, a specific type. These are often the big tourist ones, right?
Exactly, high capacity. And on this flight, there were 21 people. So 20 passengers and one crew member.
21.
And the outcome, just devastating. 8 people died, 5 were injured, and 13 survived.
8 fatalities. Horrible.
Yeah. And now, obviously, it's under intense investigation.
And that detail you mentioned about it being the deadliest since 2016 globally, that really underlines the scale. This isn't just, a local tragedy. It echoes historically in aviation safety.
Absolutely. So to really get this, we need to look at Praia Grande itself.
The setting, yeah.
This place. It's actually known as Brazilian Cappadocia.
Oh, interesting. Because of the balloons.
Exactly. Picture this.
Yeah.
Around 100 balloon flights daily.
100 a day. Wow.
It's a massive tourist draw, especially popular in June, apparently. Lots of couples celebrating Dia dos Namorados Lovers' Day on June 12th.
So it's this romantic, adventurous image?
Totally. Usually just breathtaking scenery.
What's really fascinating there is connecting that huge popularity in one spot, Brazilian Cappadocia,
Yeah.
with the risks that are just inherent in hot air ballooning. It sort of forces you to ask, okay, how do you manage that level of activity?
Right. Especially when it's a tourism hotspot.
Yeah. What's the safety infrastructure like? How does it cope?
And that takes us right to what I found, frankly, the most, puzzling part. The regulations.
Yeah.
Or the lack thereof, in a way.
Okay, tell me about that.
So Brazil's National Civil Aviation Agency, ANAC, they do regulate ballooning. They've got requirements for pilots, for equipment maintenance.
Sounds standard.
It does. But here's the kicker I found in the sources. ANAC itself says ballooning is high risk. They classify it that way.
Okay, high risk.
Yet tourist flights specifically, they are not regulated by ANAC.
Wait, seriously. They say it's high risk, but don't regulate the tourist side.
That's what the sources indicate. It seems like a huge kind of glaring disconnect, doesn't it?
It really does. And it makes you wonder why that gap exists. This isn't just some minor loophole.
Right.
It points to a bigger challenge you see sometimes with adventure tourism, especially when it grows fast.
Like economic growth getting ahead of safety rules.
Exactly. You get this tension, right? Quick development versus the slower pace of putting strong safety laws in place. Sometimes, yeah, the money side seems to outrun the safety framework, leaves a whole sector kind of operating in a gray area, a perceived safety gap.
Okay, let's zoom in on the actual balloon and the company involved here.
Right, the specifics.
This balloon, it had a big basket 6 meters wide, could carry up to 24 people.
So the one that crashed wasn't even at full capacity with 21 on board.
Correct. And the cost, $550 per person, about $102 for a 45-minute flight, going up to 1,000 meters.
That's quite accessible, actually, which explains the volume, maybe.
Could be. The operator, Sobrevoar Serviços Turísticos, based right there in Praia Grande, they did have permission to fly.
Okay, so they weren't operating illegally.
No, not according to the sources. And the owner stated they followed all the rules, had a clean record before this, though naturally they've suspended everything indefinitely now.
Understandable.
But here's something else important contextually from Brazil around that time.
Oh.
This crash, it was the second fatal balloon crash there in less than a week.
The second. Good grief.
Yeah. Just 6 days before, an unlicensed balloon with 35 people fell in Capela do Alto, São Paulo. 1 person died, 11 injured.
Unlicensed, 35 people.
Wow. And there was another one near Mauritius Beach, San Sebastian. That one crashed too, but luckily no injuries reported there.
Still, that's a worrying pattern in a very short time frame.
It really paints a concerning picture, yeah. So let's reconstruct the accident itself. How did this specific tragedy happen?
Yeah.
We have the pilot's account, thankfully, as they survived. It started just 2 minutes into the flight, around 9:30 a.m. local time.
2 minutes, barely airborne.
Exactly. A fire breaks out inside the
It's the
Sinic.
basket itself. That's terrifying.
Absolutely. So the pilot, in this awful split-second situation, starts bringing the balloon down, trying to get low enough for people to jump.
A desperate attempt to save lives.
But here's where it gets just incredibly tragic. Some people jumped, yes, but several others either couldn't or maybe didn't in time.
Okay.
And because the balloon suddenly lost all that weight for the people who jumped,
Oh, no.
it shot upwards, immediately rose again.
Lighter, so it ascended, trapping the others.
Exactly. This horrible counterintuitive physics trapped the remaining 8 people. They were too high to escape.
God, that's unimaginable.
The balloon was then, consumed by the flames and fell.
Fell completely.
Yeah. It crashed near a health center in a wooded area only about 2 kilometers from where they took off.
So close to the start.
And the weather was clear. There's footage, apparently shared online, showing the balloon in flames, people jumping,
Yeah.
just chilling.
That detail, the balloon rising because people jumped, it's almost a cruel twist of physics, isn't it?
It really is.
It just starkly reveals how incredibly dangerous an in-flight fire is on a balloon and the impossible choices. The pilot's calculus in that moment.
Unthinkable.
Yeah, actions meant to save some could completely unintentionally make things worse for others. Just a harrowing scenario.
And the human cost.
Yeah.
It's just immense.
Mm-hmm.
5 injured people were treated at the local hospital, Nossa Senhora de Fatima. 2 had second-degree burns.
Burns, consistent with the fire.
Yeah. And witnesses. Well, they described heartbreaking scenes. One saw a woman covered in mud, in shock, a man limping, and also saw 2 bodies.
Just awful.
Fatalities.
Yeah.
The breakdown is grim. 4 people burned to death inside the basket,
Oh, God.
and the other 4 died after falling or jumping from that height.
So 4 in the fire, 4 from the fall.
Yeah. And the victims, they included 2 couples, a mother and her daughter, an ophthalmologist, a figure skater,
Just regular people, tourists.
mostly from Santa Catarina itself
Right.
or neighboring Rio Grande do Sul. Many were apparently just enjoying the feast of Corpus Christi holiday.
A holiday trick turned into an absolute nightmare. It's a stark reminder, isn't it? Behind the stats, these are individual lives just shattered.
And completely altered forever. So, naturally, investigations are going full steam ahead now.
As they should be.
Santa Catarina's Public Safety Secretary, Flavio Graf, confirmed an official investigation is open. They expect results within about 30 days.
That's relatively quick if they meet it.
Seems so. The state civil police are talking to the pilot, the survivors, and you've got all the agencies involved. CINAPA, that's the Aeronautical Accidents Investigation Center,
The main air accident body. Yeah.
plus the fire department, scientific police, and ANSI is involved too, despite the regulatory situation we discussed.
Interesting that ANSC's involved now.
Yeah. And the preliminary thinking, based on early findings,
What are they saying?
it looks like the fire might have started from the blowtorch, the one used to heat the air.
Ah, the burner system itself. That's often a critical component.
Makes sense.
This really makes you ask about the depth of the investigation, though. Well, beyond just the immediate trigger, like, okay, maybe it was the blowtorch. They need to dig deeper.
After the root causes.
Exactly. Was it equipment failure, human error? Or, critically, did those regulatory gaps we talked about play a role? Was there some systemic issue?
Understanding the whole chain of events.
Precisely. Not just the spark, but everything that allowed that spark to lead to catastrophe.
And the official reactions, as you'd expect, were swift. Santa Catarina's governor, Jorginho Melo, he put out a video, expressed sadness, directed state help.
Oh, right.
And Brazil's president, Lula da Silva, also weighed in, expressed solidarity with the families, offered federal support, noted state and local teams were already helping survivors.
The expected but necessary official responses.
Yeah. So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've really covered the awful impact of this crash.
Devastating.
We've looked at Praia Grande, this unique ballooning hotspot context.
The Brazilian Cappadocia.
And maybe most importantly, these really significant, quite unsettling questions about regulation that the whole thing raises.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Yeah.
This deep dive, especially that detail about tourist flights being unregulated, even though ANJA calls ballooning high risk, It really challenges us, doesn't it?
It certainly makes you pause.
It makes you consider not just the immediate dangers of, adventure activities, but the bigger responsibilities, especially when businesses operate in these apparent safety gaps.
Hmm.
So the question it leaves you with is, what does this mean for how we weigh things? As consumers choosing these experiences, and maybe as a society too, how do we balance the thrill, the adventure, against the need, the demand for really rigorous oversight and safety?